A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a bold move that could reshape the geopolitical landscape, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has called on Russian President Vladimir Putin to meet him in person in Istanbul. A challenge that represents a significant gamble in the ongoing conflict between the two nations. As the war in Ukraine continues to devastate lives and infrastructure, the prospect of peace seems distant, yet Zelenskyy's invitation could be a pivotal moment in the search for a resolution. The backdrop of this challenge is a complex chess game of diplomacy and power plays. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the situation has escalated into a brutal conflict resulting in the loss of countless lives. As air raid sirens echoed through Kyiv last night, hopes for a ceasefire were dashed once again, leaving the international community on edge. Zelenskyy's call for a face-to-face meeting comes after a series of failed attempts to broker a ceasefire. Just last weekend, European leaders delivered an ultimatum to Putin: agree to a ceasefire or face new, stringent sanctions. However, Putin countered by proposing direct talks in Istanbul, a move that has been interpreted as an effort to regain control of the narrative. Trump's involvement adds another layer of complexity to the situation. Former President Donald Trump, currently on a tour of the Gulf states, has expressed interest in joining the negotiations. His presence could either facilitate a breakthrough or complicate matters further, depending on his approach. Trump's recent statements on social media suggest skepticism about Ukraine's willingness to negotiate, further complicating the dynamics at play. In a recent interview, Sean Walker, our correspondent covering Central and Eastern Europe, shed light on the motivations behind these diplomatic maneuvers. He noted that while both Ukraine and Russia appear to be posturing for leverage, there is a shared desire to have Trump involved in the discussions. The upcoming talks in Istanbul lack clarity regarding the agenda and the participants. While Putin's demands have remained consistent since the onset of the conflict, such as Ukraine abandoning its NATO aspirations and ceding territory, Zelenskyy's position is firm. Ukraine seeks to maintain its sovereignty and democratic values. The stakes are high for both leaders. Zelenskyy risks pressure to make concessions if Putin attends the meeting, while Putin may avoid the summit to sidestep any uncomfortable confrontations. Walker predicts a low likelihood of Putin making a personal appearance, citing his aversion to being cornered into negotiations. As Zelenskyy travels to Ankara to meet with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the question remains whether he will proceed to Istanbul if Putin does not show. The potential for a political theater moment looms large, with Zelenskyy possibly delivering a message of disappointment should he find himself alone at the negotiating table. The implications of Trump's involvement cannot be understated. Both Ukraine and Russia recognize the influence he wields on the global stage. For Ukraine, securing Trump's support is crucial, especially given the Biden administration's cautious approach to the conflict. The fear is that Trump, known for his unpredictable nature, may withdraw support if negotiations falter, leaving Ukraine vulnerable. On the other hand, Russia would welcome a scenario where Trump disengages from the conflict, which could diminish American support for Ukraine. The potential fallout from failed negotiations in Istanbul could lead to intensified sanctions from European leaders, who are prepared to escalate pressure on Moscow if progress is not made. As the world watches the developments unfold, the upcoming talks in Istanbul could either mark a turning point in the quest for peace or deepen the divide between the two nations. The stakes are high, not just for Ukraine and Russia, but for the broader international community that has been drawn into this complex geopolitical crisis. In conclusion, Zelenskyy's challenge to Putin is a bold and risky move that could either pave the way for a breakthrough in peace talks or lead to further entrenchment in the conflict. The outcome remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the world is watching closely as these two leaders navigate the treacherous waters of diplomacy amidst a backdrop of war and suffering. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.